Hi little berries, Eryberrie here. Several years ago I was in the middle of writing my debut novel and I was kind of stuck. Now writer's block is something that people have debated exists. It's just more or less really a metaphor for you reach a point in the road sometimes where you just can't write anymore, and yeah, you literally have a blank. You can't think of a single thing. The characters are just standing there looking like idiots and you're like, come on, act out your scene, and they're not doing anything. Or sometimes they just leave. They go for their lunch and they don't come back. I had a serious case of writer's block with my debut novel and I just didn't know how to get out of it, and I thought, leave it, it'll come to me. And other people said just put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard and just do it. It's really not that easy. You try it, it's not easy. Writing a novel is like hiking from one end of the earth to the other. It's really a long-term commitment. You really have to put a lot of effort into it, and there's sometimes you get there and you're like, I'm so exhausted, I can't do it. But you really want to get there. You want the end result. There was something that I did at the time which I wasn't doing strategically to alleviate writer's block. It was just because I felt like I wanted to. It was 2012 and Sherlock series 2 had just come out. I was obsessed with the show. I mean, if you've seen my videos before, the first 2 videos I ever did, I mentioned Sherlock. I've done 2 Sherlock reviews, so I mention them again for the 5th time. Is that I'm a huge Sherlock fan, or I was more of a fan 6 years ago. I had masses of ideas in my head about what they could do on the show, what I would do if I were the writer, and then I came into the wonderful world of fanfiction. I'd never read any fanfiction before that, of any TV show or whichever, but sometimes when I've been watching telly or I've been reading a book or something like that, I've always thought I'd change that bit if I could do that, or maybe I would put it like this, or I'd put another character in there, or whatever, I would do my own thing. I then had a look at fanfiction.net. It's a fantastic place for fanfiction, and I was obsessed and I was reading so much. I just had this burning idea about a story in my mind, and I was really struggling with my novel, and I thought, you know what, write some fanfiction. I've so far written 4 fanfictions for Sherlock. I actually wrote 51 chapters of the main fanfiction, which I called A Writer's Adventures, where I put a character into the story, and the story is told through that character's eyes. I also wrote some erotic fanfiction. I also wrote a fanfiction which kind of puts a little bit of romance between my character and Sherlock, although it wasn't really intended in that way. But what I found from writing fanfiction is I learned so much about spelling, punctuation and grammar and tense and point of view that I'd always taken for granted before and thought that I was doing right, but I wasn't. I was doing it completely wrong. I ended up having a beta reader who would critique my work. I had some really good reviews. I think I had maybe 1 negative review about the actions of one of my characters, but having a beta reader was really good, telling me where I should and shouldn't do things. I also became a beta reader for other people, and that really helped me look at what I was doing. Not long ago I did actually go back and reread the first chapter of The Writer's Adventures. I kind of cringed. I kind of looked at it and thought, I really wrote that shit. But at the time I thought it was really good. But it was such a learning curve for me. People who write fan fiction are, they really are inspiring. I've read fan fiction that has been really poor before I've been asked to beta read fan fiction that's been really poor. But that's not the point. The point is that people have actually gone out of their way to write something down over a TV show, or it could be a novel or a movie or a game that they're really passionate about, and they've done it not for any kind of gain, they've done it because they're passionate. And then they also go one step further and say, I'm putting this online for you to read, and if you like it, great. And I really take my hat off to anyone who puts fanfiction on the internet. That doesn't mean that it's all brilliant, some of it isn't. But again, as I said, that's not the point. I've actually left quite a lot of my fanfiction sort of like suspended, not completed. I don't know whether I'm ever going to be revisiting them. I think it's been a long time really. I think I stopped writing A Writer's Adventures about 4 years ago, I think, or 4.5 years ago. I don't think I could revisit it now. It took my mind off my novel. I learnt so much during that 18-month period in which I actually wrote that fanfiction, to the point that I could then return to my novel much wiser, much more knowledgeable, much more refreshed, and I finished it. It was 2012 when I first started writing fan fiction, about halfway through the year. I managed to complete my novel by September 2014. It took about a year for it to be published because it went through several editing processes. Eventually it all went through a year later. So I think my experience in fan fiction writing really helps. So if you are a writer out there and you're struggling with writer's block, or you want to learn a bit more, go into fan fiction. There may be a point where you reach where you won't be able to do it anymore, but then you can return to what you're doing otherwise and then jump in and out of different things. Or if you decide that you're gonna, write poetry to take your mind off things, that might be a good way to do things. I hope you find this helpful. I just thought of this vlog on the spur of the moment. I was thinking, oh, what can I vlog about? And I thought of that. I haven't scripted it. I never script my vlogs. I just talk. I just find a subject and you know the usual drill. Like it, don't like it, thumbs down if you want to know more, subscribe, hit the notification so you get those two little lines above the bell. If it's not there, then you're not notified. If you would like to say something, please say so below, and I will see you in the next video, little berries. Goodbye.